What is up, guys? This is the Zoostuber, and today I am back with Q&A number 26. This one, I will continue answering the rest of your questions. So this should be my last video for, at least 2 or 3 days. Maybe I'll have one out on Saturday or Sunday. But I'm gonna try to get as much done in the time that I have today, and maybe finish it up. We'll have to wait and see. So let's just get right into this. From James Mercer, Q&A. When Deanna spoke to Michonne about knowing what she wants out of life, and the way Michonne looked when David was explaining after he was bitten about how he and his wife met, do you think we'll get the kiss from the comics when Rick kisses Andrea after seeing the hilltop? We'll get Rick kissing Michonne or Michonne kissing Rick. Thanks for all the great videos. This has been a spoiler-free comment. Thank you. That's a pretty hefty question there, sir. I've mentioned this before. I don't think we're ever going to get the Michonne and Rick romantic interest type of thing. I mean, yes, I know there are some some undertones that I think a lot of us are more or less picking up on. There's definitely a strong love for each other. Is it a romantic type of love, or just kind of like, we're family type of love? Because I just don't see them ever having like a Jesse and Rick kind of relationship, where they're kind of like romantically interested in each other. Maybe at first, like season 3, when she was first brought to the prison and they started trusting each other more, maybe around there, like episode 312 Clear, maybe around there. But I don't really see it ever happening personally. I just don't think I don't think I would buy it on screen, especially after Jesse's inevitable demise, because it's gonna happen. I don't think Rick will be looking for love anytime soon after that, since everyone he gets close to ends up dying, or at least a good majority of them. I don't think we'll get that particular scene, and we might get a new character out of left field for that comic book scene at the kiss. But I don't know. That's a tough one. I just don't see it being Michonne. I mean, maybe they'll switch it up and they'll do like one of those Michonne and Rick kind of like, I secretly love you, but I'm never gonna like admit to it type of like we made it type of stares, like when they arrived at Alexandria, that type of thing, like that kind of look when they're both in the car and they look at each other, maybe something of that sort. Thank you for your question. From Jason Arita, if I'm not sure if you were updated on the comics, but how do you think the whole Rick and Negan on the same side thing will turn out? I'm not up to date. I know what you're talking about, since I have been like kind of reading what's going on online. I haven't actually read the last several issues. I think the last one I read, actually, and I know, for a Walking Dead YouTuber, this is a sin. I admit to it. I haven't gotten around to it. The last one I read was like two comics after Alpha was, or not Alpha. Is that even? I don't even know. Like it was like two issues after it was revealed that there were people wearing masks, and they're the Whisperers, zombie masks or skin to as disguises. It was like two issues after that. I don't remember what happened. I gotta go back and reread. I'm trying to get caught up over break here, so we'll see. But yeah, I'm not caught up, but I do know what you're talking about. Rick and Negan apparently on the same side. I don't think it's going to end well, because Negan, no matter what, cannot be trusted. So he's definitely going to betray Rick or someone else in this whole process. I think that's pretty safe to assume, even for someone who's not caught up, just to assume that if they're doing that, Negan's going to betray someone. That's kind of self-explanatory to me, at least. Thank you for your question. Oh, you have another one. All right, Jason Arita. Comic book storyline aside, do you think Dwight will appear as more of an enemy or friend, and will he be good on the inside or just purely bad? Also, it appears that Dwight had nothing against Daryl personally whatsoever. How do you think Dwight's next encounter with Daryl will go? I don't think Dwight is a bad guy. I mean, he isn't purely bad in the comics either. He was in a really crappy situation. He didn't really want to be with Negan. He burned half his face off. And Dwight never really liked Negan, but out of fear and just having to protect his family, he couldn't really strike out against him for fear of death or something happening to his family. So I don't think he's a bad guy. In the show, they made it very clear that Dwight and Sherry even apologized to Daryl, like, we're sorry. They're just in the show, at least where they're at now, because they aren't at the point where they get to in the comics. Like the Dwight we saw in 606 is pre where we see him in comics. That's pretty self-explanatory. So he hasn't really hit that that story arc yet, that stride where he has to have his face burned. He's more of a hardened character. He's just still kind of wimpy Dwight, you know. And they're frightened and they don't want to like take any chances with people. And at this point in the apocalypse, around 2 years in, give or take a couple months, you can't really be taking any chances because whoever's left is a formidable person, and the weak have been all killed off. I mean, obviously, we still have a couple weaker characters. Like I mentioned this last time, I don't think just because a character doesn't want to kill makes them weak. It just means they have strong morals. But there are a few weaker characters, like Eugene, that still have made it. But most of the people who are still alive in this world are definitely either very bad or they're badasses. So you got to watch out for them either way. So I think they're just being cautious. And obviously, since we're on Team Daryl when it comes to those guys, we're supposed to look at Dwight as kind of a villain, but he's not. He's just they're survivors and they're just trying to protect themselves. So obviously Daryl doesn't see it that way, I don't think, anymore, and he's gonna be very heated whenever they inevitably collide again. But I don't think we're gonna see that Dwight is bad or anything like that. I think we're gonna feel bad for him. That's why we got to see backstory Dwight. So when he does things from the comics, we have it in the back of our head, like, hey, he doesn't really want to be doing all this awful stuff. He's doing it because he has no choice, and it's gonna make it more tragic. Like, in the comics, when Dwight has to shoot his zombie guts infected arrow, wink wink, at a certain big character because Negan orders him to. That's going to make that scene in the show even more dramatic because we know Dwight doesn't want to do it. He's forced to do it. Just little things like that. So I think Gamble did a very it was an interesting choice, but I think it's a wise choice to flesh Dwight out before we get to his comic book storyline. Thank you for your question. From Miss J. Knoxville, do you think if Ron shoots out Carl's eye, would Michonne kill Ron because she's always been protective of him, or would Rick be more likely to kill Ron? It depends on how the timing of things happen. I mean, obviously, Rick would be the obvious choice to take out Ron immediately if Ron caused harm to Carl, like something serious like that. But I guess it depends on how everything transpires, because if little Sam starts getting devoured, and he's dragging down Jesse, who's dragging down Carl, Ricky's going to automatically probably just go for her hand first, like in the comics. And while that's happening, Ron could then shoot Carl, and Rick might still be occupied over here, maybe saving Judith or something like that, or trying to get Carl away from the walkers, something of that sort. So then Michonne might be the only one who is able to dispatch him. It might be something like that. Either could work. Neither one of them is more likely. It just kind of we're gonna have to see how things transpire in that scene. Thank you for your question. Another one from Nicholas Mercer. Q&A: Who will die first, Maggie or Carol? I'm gonna say Maggie because I know in an interview, Gimple and Kirk it was one of the producers. It was either Gimple or Kirkman. They said that Carol is probably the only character that is like completely safe. They could just be messing with us. I understand. Take it with a grain of salt, but they did say it several times, and they weren't really. It wasn't like a joking interview. But they said, yeah, Carol's probably the only one that we wouldn't think about killing, at least anytime soon. So I'd say Maggie first. Although Maggie's another one of those characters who I don't see dying anytime soon either. But I think definitely Maggie will die first out of the two of them. I'm gonna say Glenn or Daryl. That's a tough one because I have them both in my pool for who's gonna get it in the finale. I'm gonna say Daryl. I'm gonna go off on a limb and say Daryl. Abe or Eugene. Abraham. Rosita or Tara. And Carl or Judith. I don't think Judith, because I don't think they'll kill off Carl, but I do think that if Carl gets shot in the finale, Judith will have a very similar type death of what she has in the comics, if you know what I'm talking about. Thank you for your question. Another one from Nicholas Mercier. Awesome. Oh, sorry, I've been saying your last name wrong. Mercier. Sorry about my bad. Q&A. How do you want The Walking Dead to end, and how do you think it will end? I have already answered this question, so I'll give you a quick summary. I think it's an end one of two ways. Everyone dies, or Carl and Judith are the sole survivors, and they, obviously are much older, and they go on to lead their own group, or lead the new world, so to speak. Something like that. From Seth Maddox, Q&A, is Morgan going to get his comic death, or was the Tyrese thing a replace? I think Morgan is definitely going to get a different comic book death at this point because he's having a very different arc. So I don't think we'll see him get his comic death. I don't think that would be very satisfying for his current arc in the show. From Zombie Survivalist. Do you think a Rick, Morgan, and Daryl episode would be cool? P.S. I love your channel. Thank you. I think it'd be cool if it would serve the story. I don't think they should have a Rick, Morgan, Daryl episode just for the sake of having one. I know they're having the Rick and Daryl one. Well, at least they're going to be the main focus of the episode. There's going to be other characters in it. I think it'd be cool, but I don't know if it would, what the point would really be. Unless it was an episode where, like, they needed to exile Morgan, and then it was Rick and Daryl who escorted him out on the supply run, leading him 18 miles out or something like that, like in Season 2 with Randall. Something of that sort. And then that could be a pretty cool episode. Maybe they have to fight some walkers, and there's some team bonding, and then they're like, all right, you can come back with something like that. It'd kind of be a filler episode, but I think it'd be cool to see nonetheless. I just don't think it will happen. Thank you for your question. From Mallory Kemple, Q&A. In the mid-season... I can't speak today. I'm sorry. In the mid-season finale, there was blood on Maggie's jeans. Shot, walker bite, stain. I'm freaking out. There's been some speculation about this. I know Ronnie did a video on this last month, I think. It was a while. It was, a few weeks ago. I don't know. Because some people are saying that because when Deanna was firing off shots that maybe because in the comics it's Douglas Monroe and not Deanna Monroe. They just switched genders basically and give him a different name. But in the No Way Out story arc, walkers are coming, and as Douglas is getting taken down in the comics, he fires off some random shots with his pistol. One of them actually ends up shooting Carl. We know that didn't happen, but they could do a remix of that where she's actually not getting taken down by walkers yet, but she's firing off some shots because we know she missed a few when she was firing, and maybe one of them hits Maggie in the leg. A lot of people are like, Maggie, why do you keep falling down? That's probably because she was shot in the leg by something. That would make a lot of sense to me. Or she got cut on the platform there as she was crawling up, and she cut herself on the leg. I don't think she was bit. It looks like it was looks like a bullet wound, to be honest with you, because the blood isn't like a huge when you get it just doesn't look like a bite to me, to be honest with you. I don't know how to put it because it's just it's a one small little splotch area, and then it kind of just trickles down towards her knee. It looks like it's like she got jabbed with something or she was shot. I don't think it was a bite. That's just my opinion. From Donovan Freeman, any chance the wolf with the gun shoots Carl? I'd say there's a pretty good chance. I still think Ron will have something to do with it, but they could change it up and have the wolf do it because that would make a lot of sense considering he does have a gun, as you know. Thank you for your question. From Owen Sweeney, how does Glenn know Maggie's pregnant? Well, they've probably talked about it before because in the pilot, she's like, that isn't the only reason. Basically, he wants her to stay, and he wants her to stay and look after Deanna because they've probably talked about it. They didn't come out and say it in that episode, so they can keep us viewers in suspense. Like, oh, was he teasing a pregnancy or something like that? They both knew about it prior to that episode. Maggie just didn't come out and say it to Aaron or really to us as the audience until episode 5. But they've known. Thank you for your question. From J. Cash Burke, at the time of the mid-season finale, how many days or weeks do you think that Rick's group has been in Alexandria? Okay, so that's a good question. They say from when they arrived at Alexandria, episode 12. That takes place over about 2 days. It's going to take me forever just to get into each individual day, so I'm going to just give you an estimate based on what I've seen. From episode 5:12 when they arrived to 5:16, it's been 2 to 3 days tops. And then since Pete has been shot, it's been about 3 or 4 days. There's a more in-depth timeline on the Walking Dead wiki, the Wikia page, where they have it that it's not exact, but it's more accurate than what I'm going to tell you. And then obviously episodes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 take place on the same day, and then episode 6 takes place on the first day and second day, and then episode 7 takes place first day and second day. So it's only been 2 days as of episodes 1 through 8. So I'm going to say they've been at Alexandria for about a week and a half. About a week and a half to 2 weeks. Tops. Probably closer to a week and a half. Thank you for your question. From Striker... Oh, from Samuel G. Hey Zeus, I would love to know if you think All Out War will last a full season, and if so, what season do you think it will take place in? I personally think it would take place 7B to 8A. I do think it will take place for a full season. Let's see, if Negan gets introduced in the season 6 finale, it's gonna be, I think all of season 7 will be leading up to All Out War, because they can get through quite a lot in 16 episodes. I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's too quick, but they can get through quite a bit if they don't rush. I mean, if they rush things, obviously, yeah, they could get through it. But if they do it at a very normal pace, because a lot of things in the comics will translate better, they got to translate it to a TV show. It might not work to space it out that long in a TV show, because in a comic you can just read it, boom, 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 done. But in a show, people, they don't want to wait that long, and I think it doesn't work so well to have people wait multiple seasons for something like that to happen. So I think all of season 7 will be, integrating Negan into the main show, setting up his arc, setting up other saviors' arcs, other characters. There's the tension building. Season 8, all of it will be all out war, just battle after battle after battle. And then season 9 will be probably what comes after and all that. From Yoshi Drums Q&A, which lineup of the group, the main characters, was your favorite? I love the main characters right now. My favorite one is the season 4 lineup. Rick, Daryl, Michonne, Herschel, Glenn, Maggie, Beth, Carl, Tyrese, Sasha, Carol, the Governor. Love your channel. Thank you. That was a pretty good lineup too. The season 5 lineup was my favorite. I mean, I loved Herschel. Don't get me wrong, but season 5 is my favorite lineup. I think because you got Rick, Daryl, Michonne, Glenn, Maggie, Beth, to an extent, Carl, Tyrese, Sasha, Carol. But then you get Abraham, Eugene, Rosita, and then obviously you get the Alexandrians and Aaron at the end, and Gareth and the Termites in the beginning. I think season 5, the lineup was fantastic. Well, I mean, obviously some of those weren't main characters, but the season 5 lineup was my favorite, I think, because you got Bob as well. I think he wasn't always a main. I guess you can debate whether or not he was a main character or not, but I think for the 3 episodes he was in season 5, they kind of bumped him up to a main cast because they gave him a lot of really pivotal scenes in season 5. That's just my opinion. I mean, it's not fact or anything like that. Thank you for your questions. From Striker, after the cliffhanger of 6X08 and Out of the People with Rick leaving the house hand in hand, who do you think will die? And if you have the spoiler info that you've heard, just skip the question. That's tricky because I heard some spoiler rumors, like I mentioned a while ago, for 6X08, and as you guys know, those things didn't actually come true in 6X08. So I don't know if they still apply to 6X09. I don't know if they still apply. I think it's pretty I think it's pretty self-explanatory who is going to die. Because it's not going to be Rick. And it's not going to be Michonne. So that basically leaves Carl, Judith, and Jesse's family. And out of all of those, Jesse's family would make the most sense. That's how it happens in the comics. So, given that information, you can make up your own opinion of who's going to die. I'm not going to say what I've heard in case you don't want to know that. I mean, it doesn't sound like you want to know. I don't know if it's true because they were just rumors at the time. It has not been confirmed nothing is confirmed until the episode airs. Just going to say that. I mean, people can say whatever they want. But just based on the comics and based on what they've been throwing in our face as to what's going to happen, you can make up your own assumptions about that. Thank you for your question. From Jesus, how do you even say that? FGHGUKLGYKF. Okay. Q&A. Q&A. Sup, Zeus? It seems like they are pulling straight out of the book from what I see. Do you think they are setting it up for Carl to be shot by Ron as revenge? once they get to the armory because Rick will chop Jesse's hand? And do you think they will show the epic battle scene of Rick and Michonne with Daryl and finally arriving with Jesus? I do think we're going to get all of that, but I don't think it'll all happen in episode 9. Jesus is going to be in episode 10. He's not going to be in 9. The Rick chopping Jesse's arm off, or hand off, that will happen at 9 because it's got to happen. And the whole Ron shooting Carl thing, although they've been teasing that for a while now, I got a feeling it might be the Wolf because the Wolf has a gun. It'd make a lot more sense. Thank you for your question. From Naomi Marquez, Q&A, will you continue your 10 minutes with the cast? Of course I want to. It's tough getting them on. I know Anne Mahoney, if you're watching this, thank you so much. That was a great experience. She plays Olivia on The Walking Dead, for those of you who don't know her by her real name. I did message... who did I message? Oh, what's his name? He's not on the show yet. He's rumored he's going to be on the show, but we all know he will be since there's a Spoiling Dead fans picture released of him on set. What's his name? I'm working on it. I do want to continue it, so I think it will happen eventually. From Devin Jones, Q&A, do you think that we will see more of Dwight in the second half of this season? Yes, I do, probably towards the end. From James Pallett, Q&A, Zeus, do you think the show is introducing Negan too early by having him appear in the season 6 finale? No, I don't, because we're not going to... I don't think he'll be in it for the majority of the episode. We might get him towards the end of that episode, and then he's not even going to be in the show fully in season 7 anyway. I think we'll be fine with that. I don't think it's too early. We got to wait to see how it plays out first. From Walking Dead for Life, Q&A, do you have any idea when Talking Dead is making their selection of a fan